everyone, welcome back to another video. So today I am going to be doing my March wrap up and my April TBR. So for March, I didn't end up reading that much. I still read a good amount, but compared to January and April, didn't read all that much. I did finish 5 books in March. This is going to be a super quick wrap up because 4 of these books I already have reviews for, so I will leave them linked down below. But yeah, it's going to be a super quick wrap up, which is why I'm doing my wrap up and my TBR at the same time. So the first book I finished in March was The Last Life of Prince Alistair by Alexandra Bracken. This is the second and final book in the Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redden duology. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I did do a full review of this, so I will leave that linked in the description down below. The next 3 books I read in March are the first 3 in the Throne of Glass series. So that is Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. I still really love this series. I love the story, but my opinion has changed a little bit about one of the characters in Heir of Fire. So in Heir of Fire, I actually didn't like Rowan as much this time around reading it. And I actually was wondering why I even liked him in the first place. Because when we meet Rowan and we see his interactions with Selena in the beginning, he is very abusive and he's a jerk in the beginning. And so I was like, why did I even like him at all? And why did Selena even fall for him? I get that Sarah was doing the hate to love trope, so they hated each other in the beginning. And the hate to love trope is a trope that I usually really enjoy, but rereading this and seeing how much of a jerk he was and how abusive he was in the beginning, I was like, I don't know how I ever ended up shipping them towards the end. But when I stopped and really thought about it, I think the first time I read this book, I was still grieving over the loss of Selena and Kale's relationship. Like, I loved Selena and Kale, and I was diehard for them, and I wanted them to somehow, some way, work out and find their way back to each other. And the whole time I was reading Heir of Fire in the beginning, I could see that Sarah was setting up Rowan to be the love interest for Selena next. And because of the way, like, she described him and how hot he is and all this stuff, like, I can see she was setting him up to be the love interest. But I was like, no, I was so dead set against this because I did not want to admit that Selena and Kale were completely over and would never happen again. I was still holding out hope that some way, somehow, they will find their way back to each other. So I think maybe because I was still in denial, I kind of dismissed Rowan in the beginning of the book. Like, I dismissed this character and wasn't really paying attention to him because I was like, Selena's gotta get back with Kale. She's gonna do it. I don't know how, but it's gonna happen. And then by the end of the book, I had to accept the fact that Kale and Selena's relationship had sunk like the Titanic. I was heartbroken that I had to admit, just like a Taylor Swift song, they were never, ever, ever getting back together, which was so sad and so hard for me to admit. But once I did admit that the relationship was completely over and done, I think then I was more willing to accept Rowan and be like, okay, fine. I guess she can be with Rowan. And by that time, by the time I got around to accepting her and Rowan, he had he had gotten a lot better. He wasn't really abusive anymore towards the end, so he had gotten a lot better, and so I think maybe that had factored into a lot of why I started shipping them towards the end of the book. But now rereading it and seeing his interactions with Selena in the beginning and how they were, I was like, this freaking a-hole. Like, why did I ever like him? Why did Selena ever fall for him? Like, I really wanted to punch him a few times in the beginning. So I was just like, how did I not see this to begin with? But I think it's because I had dismissed this character the first time around, and I was still holding out hope for Kale. But yeah, I don't know if, who knows, maybe when I reread Queen of Shadows, maybe I'll start to see more of his good qualities again, and maybe I'll start to like him again. But for now, I'm just like, psh, Rowan's gotta go. So yeah, that's a little bit different for me rereading the series the second time around. So we'll see what I think about the other books. And the last book that I read for March was the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And this is a non-fiction book. I think I'd put it in the kind of productivity category. And this one I gave 2 out of 5 stars. I'm going to say the same thing here as I did with Marie Kondo's book. There are some good things in here. There's some not so good things in here. So I will say, if you read this, take what works for you and leave the rest. I said that for Marie Kondo's book, and I'm saying that for this one. Take what works for you and leave the rest. I do think there's some good ideas and principles talked about in here on time management and discipline and automation. So there are some good parts to it, but then there are some bad advice in here as well. And some of the suggestions in here are very manipulative, and it kind of advises you to like be manipulative as well and manipulate others around you. I also didn't like the writing style or the tone of the book. It just came across as kind of condescending. And I listened to the audiobook, so I don't know if that makes a difference listening to the audiobook versus reading it, but it sounded pretty condescending to me. So yeah, that's pretty much why I gave it 2 stars. So, like I said, if you're gonna read it, take the good, leave the rest. But if you're just wondering whether or not you should even pick it up to begin with, I'm pretty sure you can find a better book out there on time management and productivity and discipline and all this stuff. So I would say keep looking for a better book. But yeah. So now I'm going to get into the books that I'm hoping to get through in April. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. And I started this in March, and it was the book that I picked out of my TBR jar, but I'm having kind of a hard time getting through it. Which is a shame because I know everyone loves this, and so many people rave about this book, and I want to love it. And I'm hoping I still will, because I know some people have said the first half of the book is pretty slow. There's a lot of world building, but then the second half and the ending is just amazing and completely makes up for the first half of the book. So I am really hoping I am on that boat, that I will think the second half and the end is just so super amazing, and I will want to continue with the series. For now, I'm having a hard time pushing through the first half. I'm a good chunk of the way in, but I'm like not really quite halfway through. Every time I'm like, I should pick this up and continue. And then I'm like, but I'd rather watch Netflix, or I'd rather do something else. I also have the audiobook, so I'm trying to listen to it more on the audiobook, and hopefully that'll help me. But I really hope that I absolutely love the ending and just want to continue with the series because of the ending. Although I don't know, because here's the thing. The beginning of this is kind of slow, but from what I've heard from some people, they say that the second book is even slower, and so I'm just like, oh my gosh. I don't know if I will ever pick up the second book. Like, do not tell me the second book is slower than this. I will never get through it. I don't know. We'll see. Depending on how I feel about this ending will determine how quickly I pick up the second book or not. The next book that I am hoping to try to get to in April is Wizards, Wardrobes, and Wookiees, Navigating Good and Evil in Harry Potter, Narnia, and Star Wars by Connie Neal. Now, this is a nonfiction book, and this was actually on my TBR list for March. I was hoping to get around to this in March, and didn't end up happening. So I'm moving it to my April TBR. These next two books are from the library, so I definitely have to get through them in April, and that is Stolen Time by Daniel Rollins. And this is like a time travel type of book. I talked about this in my most anticipated books of 2019 video. So I'm excited to get to this one. It's gonna have to be this month because it's a library book and I'm gonna have to return it. And the next book that I'll talk about is Spectacle by Jody Lynn Sudrok. I never know how to say that. But again, this is another library book. This was also on my most anticipated books of 2019 video. And this one I am super excited for. I'll probably start reading it today. I am super excited for this one. If you guys have been on my channel before, you probably know I have a thing for Jack the Ripper retellings, and this is a Jack the Ripper retelling. So I'm like, yes, I am all for it. I'm here for this, and I cannot wait to dive into this one. Okay, so I started reading Spectacle today, and I am 78 pages in, and I really like it so far, but I want to correct something I said earlier. I don't know why I was thinking this was like a Jack the Ripper retelling. It's definitely not a Jack the Ripper retelling. I don't know what made me think that. I don't know if it's like the silhouette of the guy on the cover, or I feel like I heard someone say that this was a Jack the Ripper retelling. So I don't know, I don't remember, but whatever the case, it is not. But it is a murder mystery, and I still love murder mysteries, even if they're not Jack the Ripper retellings. Yeah, and it's about a 16-year-old girl who's a reporter at the newspaper. She writes a column about the morgue, the city's morgue. And so she is at the morgue one day viewing the body of the latest victim, and she suddenly has this like vision of the murder scene. And so she's not sure what to make of this, or what, if she can trust what she saw or not. And so, yeah, that's about as much as I know so far with this. But I'm enjoying it so far. I'm 10 chapters in, and hopefully I will. This is a pretty fast read, so I'm hoping to get through this in the next day or so. The last few books that I'll talk about are the last 4 books in the Throne of Glass series. So that's Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storm, Tower of Dawn, and Kingdom of Ash. So I am really hoping to just be able to finish off with this series this month. I do have a pretty long TBR list for this month, as I usually do, but hopefully I can get to all of those. And finally, I will be picking my last book from my TBR jar, so we'll see what my jar has in store for me this month. And the one I have from my TBR jar is historical fiction. For historical fiction, the Spectacle book, that one is historical fiction because it takes place in the 1800s. So that one will fit perfectly for this challenge. So yeah, those are the books that I'm going to be reading for April. That's it for this video. Comment down below and let me know what books are you planning on reading in April, and let me know if you've read any of these books that I showed and what your thoughts on them were. So that's it for now. I will see you guys soon with another video. Bye!